With these sessions today, I think are really interesting in terms of the future direction of the industry and things we can learn from creators, different type of creators as they look at content differently. And so our next session exemplifies, I suppose, perfectly what is going on here in Wales and some of the success stories that are here that we don't necessarily realise are on our doorstep. Now, the person I'm talking about is the illustrator and digital creator Harry Hambley, who's going to come and talk to us about his career, what's been going on, and what he thinks about the future as well. So please welcome the session chair, Kai Morgan, and Harry to the stage. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Diolch yn fawr. Cheers, Harry.
Hello, pnawn da. Thank you to everyone for coming to this session. I know it's been a long couple of days, but we've got a fun half hour ahead. Some funny clips from Harry's wacky world of catnips. So before we show the first clip, to give everyone a flavour, introduce the brand of catnips to the people in the room.
Hello, everyone. I feel very sort of dwarfed by all these giants in this summit, but it's really cool to be here. Thank you, guys. So my name's Harry, and for the past 8 years since high school, have been working on an animated online webcomic featuring the character Bean. It's called Catnips, and yeah, we've had some success, and it's been a really fun ride.
And so we'll see Bean in a second, the infamous Bean. But if you could just elaborate on Catnips and the world of Catnips and the content itself, like what are the themes? What can we expect?
Yeah, so it's all very light-hearted. We follow the main character, Bean, who's got these weird bug eyes. He's pink and sort of squishy. And he just gets up to all sorts. He has a pet cat and dog, Cato and Doggo, and a Nana Bean as well. And yeah, it's sort of short and sweet.
All right, well, I think without further ado, we'll watch the first clip if we could, please. So that was a brilliant piece of content. So where did the idea for the bean come from? How did you end up drawing that as the first thing?
Yeah, it was a graphic design project in high school where we had to come up with a character and sort of do our own branding. So I came up with this really creepy, it used to look very hideous, and then sort of cuted out over the years. But the first one was a character, it didn't have the Bean name or anything, but it was just the bug eyes, and I drew it on a vodka bottle, and the character was called Free Spirits, because he was on a skateboard. I should have mentioned that. But it evolved over time, and sort of got a bit more pink and whatnot.
Yeah, and so now the Catnips brand is massive, global, probably over 15 million followers, I think, across all platforms. Absolutely huge on TikTok, and you're growing on YouTube now as well. So, and I think, one thing in this session, we're going to talk about IP. So tell us about kind of those early days where things started to, blow up for you on socials, and then suddenly brands are coming knocking on the door to say, we want to work with you, and we want this bean to be our mascot, effectively.
Yeah, it was really weird. So last year of high school, I was sort of half-arsing school and then also working on Catnips, and I think we got to 10,000 followers, sold a few t-shirts, and I was talking to my graphic design teacher in school, at Plasmout, if anyone knows it. Shout out.
Yeah.
But she was like, just, mate, you know, you've got a few years, just do it and see what happens. And then it really quickly spiraled. We ended up working with Instagram itself in the first year. We did a big campaign with them, and then we worked with Samsung, and more recently we've worked with McDonald's, Got Milk, and I did a talk at Apple as well, which is cool. But it's been absolutely nuts, and I still, a lot of it is luck, and you just have to be in the right place at the right time, and post a lot. But yeah.
But you got to say, it's talent as well. Like, you know, the content that we've just seen, and if you go on, follow Ketnips on TikTok and Instagram, you have animated hours and hours and hours of brilliant short form animation, a lot on your own. Like, now at the point that it is with millions of followers, how are you processing that kind of visibility that you've got and that exposure to big brands who are probably rocking up, putting a big bag of money on the table and saying, work with us?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, social media is a wild place to pitch your tent. I think that one day it's one thing and then the next day it's the next, and so we're always evolving. And the trick is to just find what you find interesting on social media and follow that and try that out and see if your medium works for that. And fortunately, you know, I came up at the time when Reels started to become a thing on Instagram and TikTok as well, and COVID, and everyone was at home just looking for something to watch. So that really helped, and I had all the time in the world to animate. So yeah, it's just it's really wild.
And on the point about social media platforms, look, obviously they're super important, but they're constantly changing. I know when we first met years ago, Instagram was your main place, and you always used to say, if Instagram goes down, I'm screwed. You've obviously massively diversified your output now. How is kind of the relationships with different platforms and you know, without stating an obvious fact, but they're super important to you and growing kind of all the content and the brand?
Yeah, I mean, actually now I think Instagram is probably the most stable, and then YouTube is, but we don't really do it. We're starting to now with long form, and shorts was a big factor for us too, and still is. But it's always changing. I mean, we all thought TikTok was going to be the one, and then that is like, I don't know what's going on with that and regulations, and so you just have to trust your own brand. You have to trust what you're making, and that you're having fun making it, and that it's entertaining, and just try and post it everywhere. Just put it everywhere and see what happens, and don't be too nitpicky about, oh, I want to be on Facebook or whatnot. Mm-hmm.
We'll get into kind of IP and licensing a little bit more in a second. I think we're going to show another quick clip now, if we could. And this is one of your more recent pieces of content. And before we show it, tell us in the room about kind of like how big or not this operation of Ketnips is at the moment, and considering how massive it is and how well followed, you're still like a really small team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still doing a lot of the animation myself. I work with a few people now, thankfully. We have Ollie, who does all of our music, and then Matt, who helps edit. But we're like a 4-man crew, so it's and we're trying to post these like every week, so it's a lot of sleepless nights.
Great. We'll show the next clip if we could, please.
Why does Olga have a massage?
It's amazing. So I think,
That's only part one.
well, exactly, that's what I was about to say. So this is a part of a current origin story of some of the characters in the Ketnips universe. So, please tell us where the hell that idea came from.
Well, it's funny because we're almost working backwards at it now, because typically in broadcasting, I'm assuming, you would come up with all the backstories of the characters and the world building and all of that, and then the content, so to speak, comes after that. But for us, we would just sort of run and gun and trying to make everything and post it on schedule, that we never really thought about, like, how did this character get a really prominent mustache, and where do all these guys come from? So now we're exploring that, and we're really trying to make the world that we've built a lot richer and just explore it.
Nice. Well, we'll dive in a bit more to kind of the IP and licensing side of things. So for a brand that is so squeaky clean and, it's really family friendly, appeals to a massive audience with a lot of kind of good, well-meaning messages in it. How does that then kind of conflict when you've got like a massive corporation like McDonald's knocking at the door, and you have to manage in kind of what they want and how you manage your brand in all of those discussions?
It's really tough. So I don't know, you put me on the spot, because it's at one end, you want to keep it as organic as possible and keep that relationship with your audience. And at the same time, you also want to get paid and make sure everyone gets paid. And so an opportunity like that is great, because it means that we don't have to worry about salaries and things for a year. But at the same time, we understand that we're going to have to make, 10 times as much organic output to offset an advert. And I think sometimes you get a really good spot where the brand's not controversial or hasn't done anything, and people really like them, and you're able to make something together, and it's just a good vibe. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to work with companies that don't have the best rep, and we've turned down a whole lot, it's just. But that's the nature of IP and branding, and I'm sure Hello Kitty's had the same. Not that we're that big, but.
Well, you're on course, I think. And just on that, just to touch on that, for the audience to follow Ketnips, how do you manage the output in, how many pieces of branded content versus organic, non-ad funded in your daily feed, and kind of how has your audience received that?
Yeah. I mean, you just try and do as little as possible to keep the lights on. And also, a big thing, too, is making your own product and work and trying to promote that and use that instead. And so it's really a balancing act. And it's interesting, because I don't really think that it's been that explored before, maybe other brands and whatnot. I don't know if Garfield had to do this at the start, but
yeah. Well, and what's amazing is this has come from the world of social first, as opposed to your Garfields and the Simpsons and Hello Kitty, all coming from big TV animated series. So you're coming at this whole thing the other way around. But as well as kind of brands funding content, you also license the world of Ketnips into loads of product which is available around the world. So how did that come about, and how successful is that for you?
Yeah, licensing is becoming a lot bigger a chunk of what we prioritize. So we work with brands like Casetify and other ones like Grupo Eric in Spain, and we're looking at Japan and Asia now. And it's fun, and you're able to make really great product, because you're dealing with these sort of big dogs who this is their bread and butter. But at the same time, you're also competing with like Snoopy and all these like 75-year-old brands. And that's like, I don't know, IP and licensing is in a really strange place, because it is relying so heavily on all these old brands, and fair play, because they've got 3 generations of people recognizing them. So, but then to be the new kid on the block is a little bit intimidating, and you just got to try your best and make cool stuff.
Tell us about times where your IP you think has been jeopardized. You might have seen someone trying to rip something off, because you've said about that a lot in the past, where you're kind of like, hey, That looks quite similar to something I know. Kind of, how often does that happen? And kind of, what are the thought processes and things you put in place to kind of keep on top of that?
Yeah, no, it happens a bunch. We had a one last month where this like weird vitamin gummy brand in the States was using all of our character assets without our permission, and we had to, send them a whole legal thing, and they ended up paying us, which was nice, but it was also like, why are you doing that? Just make your own thing. And it's just, the internet's very Wild West. I think you see it more from up-and-coming brands as well, and they're just trying to get ahead, and there's an intern who doesn't know what they're doing. But yeah, it's just the age-old thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And give us an example of one of your favorite kind of collaborations with a brand, something that you're really proud of and hope to do more of.
So it's going to sound really boring, but we've done a few cases. This is not an ad, by the way, but we've done a few cases with Casetify, and that was a really nice one for us because they've really focused on quality, and so they're the leader in the space, and they care so much about the designs, and they also have a huge reach worldwide. So we didn't even realize, but half of the sales came from China, and we didn't even know we had a Chinese base until we logged on to Billy, I think it was, and yeah, we didn't even know. So sometimes you discover things through doing these projects as well, and yeah, it's interesting.
Amazing. And that obviously has kind of changed the business, really, from being something which obviously started as like a social thing. You've now got to kind of manage all of this kind of licensing work. Kind of how are you managing that, and kind of how do you see that as a part of the business moving forward over like the next 5 years?
I think just working with people who are smart and sort of understand the space is really important, because when the first year we tried to do anything IP, we didn't know anything about it, and probably still don't know a whole lot. But we've been fortunate to work with people who are ex-Disney and ex-these places, and they've just got their head screwed on it. And it's really tough if you're starting out and trying to establish something. So you just need someone who's going to be patient and understands that you've got to make a few animations a week and also do this at the same time. So yeah, but it's just cracking on. I think the reason why Snoopy and all these brands are so coveted today in that space is because they've had the test of time and all of these generations of families passing down books and really nice product, and they're familiar with the brand, and it's through just a lot of good decisions. And so for us, we're thinking, okay, we have to, maybe it's a faster pace, but we have to do good decisions and just try and keep doing that, and see you in 70 years, I guess.
In an incredibly competitive environment. So what is like the ultimate goal? Is it like Disney scale or kind of, or Snoopy, or kind of what's the dream?
I don't know. I don't think it's
Oh, come on, I wanted a better answer than that.
I don't know. I think for us, it's just trying to reach as many people as possible. That was the draw with social media in the first place. Obviously, the barrier of entry was great. It's just me and an iPad. But it's also the ability to reach as many people and tell stories and have that immediate interaction. So that's something I never want to lose, but we're looking at making longer stories and making, something in Wales as well that can not only support what we're doing with Ketnips, but maybe other projects, and building it out that way. Disney starts off with Mickey Mouse and then snowballs. It'd be cool if that was a Welsh one.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Well, we may come on to talk a little bit more about that in a second. On social media and the huge following you've got, and then how that affects kind of brand interest, how are you managing such a kind of a safe brand in the incredibly sometimes toxic world of social media, the kind of how it's unregulated and how things can spiral out of control very quickly, brands can get and businesses can get cancelled very quickly. How have you managed that, and kind of, are there any examples you can share where you've kind of like think, ooh, maybe that was a bit close?
So I don't know if this is a bit niche, but when Taylor Swift got a lot of heat for using a private jet for 10 minutes to go, to the other side of the state. We made a little animation. I don't know if you can show it. Maybe you'd have to look it up after. Where it was just about Taylor Swift going to the shop to get milk. Oh, I think it was the other side of her mansion. So she got in a jet, went and got milk, and then came back. But we got the heat of, it was, oh gosh, it was like the whole Taylor Swift audience. They just piled on. There was like 20,000 comments on one post being like, "You're the Antichrist." It was like,
oh God.
It was, yeah. But that you just don't do it again, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
So,
But you wouldn't have ever seriously worried that kind of brands would have gone, oh, maybe we won't work with Ketnips now because the Swifties.
No, I think yeah. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, maybe there was a really cool brand that was a super Swiftie, but it just is what it is. I think if you find something funny and you think that it's worthwhile posting, we try to not be any way political. We're just trying to tell stories. But sometimes you got to have a bit of fun, I try not to think about it too much.
And on that creativity and stories that you mentioned there, and like the cat with the wooden spoon and the dog with a stash, like the output is super high for a small team. How are all of these ideas and stories kind of coming together? Are they just things that you see on the street and go, oh, I'll write that down, that's funny, that's relatable, and we'll make a cartoon about it in the next kind of couple of months? How does it all come about?
Just got them all in my notes. So it's just anytime I get an idea, I just write it down in a big notes tab.
Go on, give us one or two that we can expect to see.
Bean says, "I'm not afraid of anything. Here's a group of teenagers coming." Bean starts hyperventilating. It's just like little weird ideas about, I like to take a relatable thing, such as cutting an onion, and you get the tears from the onion juice or whatever. But then you can expand on that and over-exaggerate it. So the next one we're doing is Bean cuts an onion, and he's got a whole hazmat thing, and it's like the start of like a Nicolas Cage film. But that's really the gist, and that's what we like to make, and hopefully we make a few more of those.
Amazing. Well, I know the session's on kind of IP and licensing, but I'd love to ask you very briefly, just cover AI quickly. Animation is notoriously hard to make at scale. It's expensive. Do you see AI being a way for Ketnips to scale quickly over the coming years, or are you anti-AI?
Yeah, so that's one of those things where it's like, if we use it, does it alienate our audience? And also, do we actually enjoy it? I'm not sure. I think one of the beautiful things about what we make is all the sort of personality that we're able to put into every frame just by hand making it. And at a certain point, you're like, yeah, it'd be great if I could just plug this into ChatGPT and they do it in 2 seconds. But I think it loses some of the magic. A studio like Studio Ghibli in Japan is notorious for having a real laborious time making all of their big animations, but they've lasted the test of time because you see all of the detail and character and personality and everything. And I think that's something that gets lost. And whilst there might be applications for it in the future, I don't know, and maybe it'll be the norm. But I do think that there's a huge market emerging now of really handmade things that sort of, it's like a counterculture in a way, and that's really exciting.
So can you imagine kind of physical kind of versions of like the cartoon being made and things like that, which you think probably in the current climate, people don't maybe buy comics anymore, but would that be something you'd love to do?
Yeah, I don't know. That would be really cool. Yeah.
If it makes money, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's as we kind of sort of draw to a close, let's look towards the future for Ketnips, and especially on kind of the branded IP licensing side, kind of what's next, how many kind of like jobs, kind of opportunities do you look to do kind of every year, and what can we expect to see next on like the licensing front?
Ooh, so we're looking at expanding the licensing, putting a few more characters in there, hopefully building out the world, and we think that starts with just telling really good stories. And so our focus at the moment is just finding every which way to do that, And yeah, I think the difference between us and a lot of other character IPs is just they've built out all of these worlds, and people have really been able to spend a lot of time with the characters. And so for us, it's just how do we make more time spent? How do we make that time worthwhile? And yeah, have fun with it.
Brilliant. And I guess one of the final points we're going to, I guess, announce, and it's already on the screen, is that we at Boom Social and Ketnips have signed a co-production agreement, which is super exciting, to build out a Ketnips series for the first time. And this is Ketnips coming at not necessarily TV, but kind of a content series the first time, having been rooted in the world of IP and social and not necessarily having a long form narrative. Like, how have you come to this now, and kind of, and why, I guess, are we doing this together?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, I've known you for 8 years, and there's no one else I'd rather like make this TV baby with, but like, not to be weird about it, but I also think that I've always wanted to make something at home and work with people who I know and trust. I've had a lot of meetings with people abroad and whatnot about doing a show, and it always ends in something really like grim and like a contract that you don't want to sign. And I just thought that we've just got to make something homemade and really have fun with it. And so this is super exciting for me, and it gives us the opportunity to make something which can be 10 minutes, not 1 minute, and just it's like a whole new frontier for my like social media brain.
Excellent, very exciting. So do any buyers in the room? Come and have a chat with us. But Harry, thank you very much for coming today. It's been a brilliant session. We'll be hanging around, so come and have a chat, more so with Harry than anyone else, because he's brilliant. So please put your hands together for Harry Hambley and Ketnips.
Thank you.